So hello and welcome, I'm Frederick Dunn, and today I'm going to talk to you about something that's kind of unpopular. That's right, it's right up there with spiders. People don't like spiders and snakes. But here where I live, in the northwestern part of the state of Pennsylvania, in the northeastern part of the United States, if you have earthen ponds, if you have a big lake or slow-moving river or stream, chances are you're going to have some interesting reptiles. And we have them in this pond. I showed you that paracord because it's going to tie off a trap. What would I be trapping? I'll bet you're wondering. Well, water snakes. We have a water snake in the pond, according to my daughter-in-law, the grandchildren, my wife, my daughter. They don't want snakes in the water where they swim. So, it's up to me to collect them. I like snakes. Been into snakes ever since I was a little kid. And I'm going to trap them out with this minnow trap. In fact, there's a saying, 2 is 1 and 1 is none. So I'm going to set out 3 of these minnow traps. And this isn't just expanded metal. Look, it's covered. It's got a plastic coating that's going to protect the reptile that I hope to have move into it. And here's the thing. Most people say, you want to bait these? And I think, based on what I know about snakes, I think they'll just crawl into it. The other thing is, it is a minnow trap after all. And if I put it in the pond here, which has plenty of minnows, fathead minnows, golden shiners, bluegill, and even great big koi, I'm going to tie this off, and I think that it's going to bait itself. Now, do you need the fancy knots here on this paracord? No, not really. I just do it for fun. Look at that monkey fist there on the end. Because I'm going to hook it in a way that will prevent the trap from sinking completely into the water. Because what a lot of people don't understand, and I want them to in this video, is that water snakes are reptiles. They need to get air from the surface. So even when they go into the trap here, part of the trap needs to reach the surface of the water so the snake can breathe. And we're going to get minnows or maybe some small bluegill into this trap. The snake will come along, smell it in there in that cone shape, makes it inviting to the snake. It'll go right in there, and then it won't easily get out. What do you think? So I put loops, put this up high. Why did I tie it off so high? Why so elaborate? You might be wondering. Well, if you have grandchildren around, as I do, they'll untie things and mess with your stuff. So I'm securing it in a way that only I can unsecure it. And wouldn't you know it, there's a little eggshell here along the edge, and I doubt that it was eaten by a snake, but some people do bait their traps with eggs and eggshells and things like that. Can't hurt to stick it in there, but I'm not a big fan of that. I think that letting the minnows go in will be good on its own, and the water snake will just find its way in there. What do you think? But we'll plop it in anyway, just for kicks. Now, I did get these in order to trap the water snake, and there are some things that you should probably know before you think about trapping any kind of reptile or amphibian. There are very strict regulations about turtles, for example. We have snapping turtles here. And look, even this duck decoy thinks this is great weather for ducks because I am out here in the rain. And I'm looking at the way our pond is set up. If you have a lot of tall growth and roughage in areas like this, which look fantastic in pictures and video, it is also very inviting to water snakes. Now, there's a koi. We have lots of koi here, and they get big. They've been in here for many years, so if there were a baby water snake, it would be in jeopardy. They'd eat it. I also look at the trees and logs and things along the edge of the water, and look for areas where a snake might move out of the water and bask itself. I also keep honeybees right here on the property, and isn't it interesting that this little honeybee flew all the way to the pond to drink water in the rain? And look at this interesting animal moving through the surface of the pond. That's right, it's a water snake. Don't panic. It's not poisonous. It's not venomous. It's not dangerous. So this is just a northern water snake. That's comforting. Not comforting to my daughter-in-law, who says she won't be coming back to this pond so long as this thing is in there. That's why I'm making the video, and that's why I'm taking up a position to collect it and relocate it. There's a close-up of it right there too. Now you might think it'd be easy, just run over and grab it. It's not very easy. They see it pretty well. Also, look at the eyes. Look at the lenses on this thing. They can't blink after all. They are snakes. But it's milky. And here I found them again, basking on a low-lying branch. Because at the end of the day, near sunset, they come out of the water and they get that warmth. And then a nice safe spot too. And notice now I'm saying they, because there's more than one. Look here. Look up close. This is two snakes on the same branch. It's a game of patience, because from the time I started making this video to the sequence that you're looking at right now, it's been almost a week. That's right. This is a game of patience. And the last thing I want my family members to know is that there wasn't one snake on the water. There's two of them. Kind of creepy for people that don't appreciate snakes the way I do. Now, if it were just up to me, I would let them live here. That would be no problem at all. And you might be wondering, how long do they live? Well, right around 5 to 9 years in the wild. A lot of things eat them. How big do they get? I'll bet you're wondering too, how scary could it be? Well, the northern water snake can be over 50 inches long, and when they get that big, it's likely to be a female, by the way. You can almost see the head here, and look how drab and dark the coloration is. This is not a cottonmouth water moccasin. We don't even have those in this neck of the woods. So for those who think they're going to be brave and get out the shotgun and blast them off of tree branches and things like that, I have zero respect for that behavior, because they're not harmful at all. So over a period of several days, I started thinking I should put in several traps. And I did. I put 3 minnow traps in. You can see the head on this one. Look at the lack of banding. The younger they are, the brighter the banding. Also, remember the eyes were a little milky, and this one here that we see in the foreground, its eyes look a little milky too, because there's a fluid that passes through those clear lenses between the old skin that's about to be shed off, and they shed their eye covers like contacts. And then you'll see a nice, clean, fresh-looking snake. And look what's in my trap. Now, this is not the trap that we started the video with. This is another one. I went on Amazon and I picked one out, also coated in plastisode or whatever it's called. It's got a plastic protective coating on it so that reptiles don't hurt themselves, because I don't want to harm the snakes. I also don't want to grab them and handle them and show them off in front of the camera, because that stresses the snake. And guess what? I said snake, but we got both of them. Those two snakes that were on that branch are together in this trap. So we're going to pull it out, and I'm going to relocate them. And when I say relocate, not too far away, and I want to make you aware of something too. Did you know the Fish and Game Commission in my state requires that if I even pick one of these up or transport it even a short distance, then I have to have a fishing license, and I do. I have a lifetime fishing license, by the way, not because I fish, but because I pick up reptiles and amphibians, so I can take their pictures, so I can look them over, so I can teach my grandchildren about them. Now, lucky us, these are little, and I'm just going to relocate them to a small creek, slow-moving creek, not too far from us, and that's so that they'll be well adapted to the environment already. If you take them many miles away, they may not do well at all. And you have to be careful about where you release them to. Their chances could be poor. Of course, this is the month of June. They have really good chances. Now, here's what's interesting. See the little bluegill that was in there? When I checked this trap before the snakes were in it, there were probably 9 bluegill, little ones that could fit through those holes in this trap. I'm suspecting that this larger female probably swallowed most of them, and the male might have gotten 1 or 2. Who knows? But these two snakes have been together in the same branch on several days. It's important to take pictures of them, still pictures as well as video, But the still pictures let us identify their patterns, especially around their head, behind their head, down the leading part of their body. They have these really rough-looking keeled scales. And the patterns will be a little bit different. There'll be some variation from specimen to specimen, and then you can see, do we have the same snake? In other words, what if it came back and got right back in the same trap? They are reptiles. They're driven heavily by instinct, and we want to know, how many do we have? Well, I can tell you by the end of this video, we ended up with 4 snakes. Now this is a hive butler tote that I use for beekeeping. I put bee frames in it. But I think it would be perfect for transporting these snakes a short distance, so I can just pull the lid off. It's loosely fitting, it doesn't go airtight, and it really wouldn't matter, given the size of it, if it were airtight, because it won't be long before they'll be right back out of it and released into a nearby waterway. So, just going to open it up. Remember, I'd rather not pick them up, even though they are harmless. They have some decent teeth on them. They can be feisty. These are little. It's not that big of a deal. But you stress the snakes more just by picking them up so you can get pictures of them. I much prefer to just dump them out in something and get the close-ups without handling the snakes. And I've been handling snakes my whole life. Depends on where I go and what I've done. We picked up copperheads down in South Carolina, beautiful snakes, just so that we could keep control of them, so that people could see them up close, and then we'd let them go again right where we got them. But we have to get these out of the pond so that everyone else can enjoy the pond and not suffer from the trauma that's associated with seeing water snakes on the water, even though they're not poisonous. I'm just showing you the trap here, the way the pieces come together. I will put a link down in the video description because they work for a lot of different things, not just snakes. We have garter snakes here, we have black rat snakes, a lot of other species of snakes around. So this is where I'm going to let them go. And as I mentioned, not far away. It's important that they be in the same climate, same local region if you want them to succeed and live. They do reproduce in the wintertime. They go into what's called brumation in winter, so they survive our heavy winters here. We are in the snow belt. And they have live babies, by the way, if you were wondering, just the way garter snakes do. And you might be wondering, well, how many babies can one of those have? Well, they can have a lot of them. I don't know exactly how many because I've never found a clutch of them, but their chances of surviving when they're brand new water snakes is very low. Birds eat them, even our chickens eat them when they're little. The fish, for example, even those koi that are in that pond would eat a small water snake, so their chances are low. We want to take really good care of them. They're a very important part of our ecosystem, and please don't kill them just to look brave. Close up of the face here. I want you to see the eyes. Look how clear they are now. A little patch, a little remnant left over from the shed that it recently did. And those round pupils, indicative that it's not a pit viper, but we do have venomous snakes in the United States that have round pupils. Elapids, for example, those neurotoxic coral snakes they have down south. But this is harmless. And I just want to take a moment before we release them to show you really close up what the details are. These snakes are in great shape. They eat little frogs, amphibians. They eat, if there are little plovers or things like that, birds that lay their eggs along the edge of the water, they would eat those. And they'll even eat the little newts that are so cool. They don't eat your grandkids. There's zero threat. Got some raccoon footprints here along this river. Gonna let him go. I think that's a male that scooted out there right away. Not a happy camper. And I suspect that this one is a female. She hung out for a long time. She was really not that interested in going out, and keep in mind, we kept their stress levels way down by not handling them, by not picking them up. Some people like to pick them up and let them bite their hands so they can show you that they're non-venomous. Well, there is bacteria in their mouth. Don't let them bite you. And they will cut your skin with their teeth. Remember, their teeth are long enough so that they can get a hold of frogs and things like that that might be hard to hold on to. They even eat small fish. They eat underwater. how long can one of these snakes go underwater? Let's say you walked up and it was on a tree branch overhanging the water and it disappeared into the water. So you sit down, do you think you're going to wait it out and see how long it takes before it surfaces again? You could. But it can be underwater for over an hour. That's right. It is a reptile, but they go under and get woven into the roots and the grasses and things like that. And if they're panicked and hiding out, they can stay down for an extended period of time. So it took me a couple of weeks to trap these out. Just a game of patience. Leave your traps where they are. They may avoid new objects in the water and along the water's edge. They have their routines. And so it's just going to be a game of patience. Now, even while I've collected these two, I left my 3 traps still in the pond. And I can share with you now, before the video is even over, that that was a very smart move, because we didn't have 1 water snake. We didn't have 2. We didn't have 3. We had 4 water snakes in our pond. So I'm glad not to share that information with my family, because I don't want them thinking that they were lied to, because I want people to use the water. I want them to be comfortable around the edges of it. But this is part of nature, and some people are, as I mentioned before, they're terrified of spiders. It doesn't matter which one. They're terrified of snakes. They don't have legs. They don't move right. Look, they stare at you without blinking. They have no eyelids. They have a forked tongue that comes out and sniffs the air and retracts into their mouth and inserts into the roof of their mouth into the Jacobson's organ, which allows them to analyze whatever they're sniffing. In fact, if I took my time with this snake, you could pick it up and probably not even be bitten. This one does not seem terribly feisty or stressed. It goes right in the water like it belongs there, and it does, because it's a water snake. Now, what would eat it, do you think? Well, big fish for sure. Birds eat them, so even birds of prey. Hawks would eat them. And what happened here? That's right, that's number 3. Same spot. Came out of my pond too. So, number 3 here gave me a great opportunity to make videos, get photos, talk about them. That one was nice and fat, well fed on the minnows that were in the minnow trap. And if you don't move, think Jurassic Park. If you don't move and you hold perfectly still, they will move around and get very close to you, because they don't know that you're alive unless you're scooting around or smell like food or something that they normally would be familiar with. But look at the patterns on this one. Look how clean they are. Once again, I suspect that this one had recently shed off its skin. And also remember that the young ones are strongly banded like this. I could see where someone could look at this and think, copperhead. Or they might look at it and think, that is a water moccasin. And some children are told by poorly informed adults that any snake in the water is a venomous water moccasin, they'll say. But it's not. These are just common northern water snakes. And they don't hurt you at all. In fact, they're going to avoid you. They're not going to come up and see what you're up to unless you're sitting perfectly still for extended periods of time. If you're one of those people, like me, who sits at the water's edge and doesn't move, you get a much better chance of seeing wildlife like these very cool reptiles. Imagine one being over 50 inches long. And when they're big like that, though, they're kind of ugly, because it's really cool. These markings that they have are so drab by then that they almost look olive green, almost black. They look very dry, and they have non-distinct markings. And if you pick them up and look at their underside, their scales on their stomachs are covered in little rust red marks too. So they're just pretty darn cool to look at. No reason to grab them. In fact, if I didn't have family members that were so off-put by these, they could stay in my pond for as long as they want to. I don't mind them at all. In fact, I think it's a real treat just to see one every now and again. Now, the kids also were bothered they would be eating all the frogs along the water's edge in our pond, so everyone was against me. Let's get rid of the water snakes. So we didn't really get rid of them. We just moved them across our dirt road and into a creek. And just a refresher there may be rules where you live about moving native snakes around. You can't keep them as a pet. That's not legal. And there she goes. I suspect it's a she. Now look at this one. This one's little. So this was the last one I caught. And I think this cinched it. This is the last one from the pond. And it's very small. Nice clear markings again. It's a young specimen. Highly suspect that this is a male. Off it goes. You can see how they move without their legs. Very cool. Right into the water to join its friends. So all the snakes that I've released here are all from the same pond. Now we have rain coming and heavy storms and things like that. They like to move around at night on warm nights when it's rainy and wet. And they follow ditches, they follow tiny tributaries, and that's how they end up in your pond. They can end up in your fancy koi pond. They can end up in your swimming pool. They don't like it though. Nothing for them to eat there. They also need to access an area below the frost line for winter or they'll die. So they need to get where there's a lot of rocks, old tree stumps, things like that, fallen logs where the humus decomposes and keeps things warm. They're interesting. They make it in our environment and they're an important part of it. So I hope that you enjoy looking at these snakes. And I hope you understand that it's very important not to destroy them. Let's keep them around. Now the pond is safe again. Honeybees are drinking. They're no threat to honeybees. They don't eat honeybees. It's no big deal. And but these are okay with our family members. They don't mind seeing the bees as long as they don't step on them. I don't see any more snakes breaking the glassy surface of this pond. Even the water lilies are being visited by bees. We got a really cool dragonfly that showed up while I was making these closing sequences today. June the 30th, by the way. And so we're going to keep an eye on things, see if any of the snakes show up again. We've had a clear week without them. So if they show up again, I won't make another video, but I'll of course have to collect those and remove them and verify that it's not the same ones that I just released. Thanks for watching.